Welcome to Lexington, Kentucky. As tonight we lift the lid on another college basketball season inside legendary Rupp Arena, where this Kentucky team enters the season as a top 10 squad, dreams of another national championship. They've got the player to take them there. The reigning National Player of the Year will be a featured part of this Kentucky offense as soon as he gets on the floor. But the challenge to start, Howard Bison out of the MEAC are in town to take on number 4 Kentucky. And with that, we welcome courtside, everybody. Should be a fun one tonight. Tom Hart alongside Jimmy Dykes. We are missing some key players, and instead of waxing poetic out of our first night, a sense of urgency. No Oscar Tshiebwe, no point guard Sahvir Wheeler. Damian Collins is away from the team for the time being. This is an opponent in Howard that Kentucky can't afford to overlook.
No, that's a big hit to Kentucky. You're talking about the National Player of the Year, not anchoring the things around the rim. Interesting, Kenny Blakeney, the head coach for Howard, told us this morning, without Sahvir Wheeler, without Oscar Tshiebwe, he said, we have the better team, talking about Howard. That's a big statement for a team that's predicted third in their own conference out of the MEAC. But I tell you what, they've got length, they've got size, they got some toughness about them, they got a terrific little point guard. This is not an easy opening game for Kentucky, considering all the circumstances.
All right, so who's got to step up for the Cats tonight?
Well, their older guys have to step up right now, and that's Jacob Toppin and C.J. Frederick. Jacob Toppin, a role guy last year. Can he become an all-SEC, if not a first-round pick this year? And this is a guy that's going to have to get his own tonight some. Terrific in the mid-range game, terrific flying around the rim. And C.J. Frederick, the transfer who set out last year, Tom Hart, with a hamstring injury, is the best shooter, I believe, in college basketball. He's got to shoot it tonight with confidence. He's got to let it fly. Kentucky, their older guys have to carry them right now when they're down 2 or 3 people.
Hey, let's get a look at Oscar Tshiebwe. This guy's getting some hardware at midcourt. You had a chance to put that trophy in the air today. That is the Naismith Trophy, the reigning National College Player of the Year. That's not a light trophy, and Oscar's done some heavy lifting for the Cats.
Yeah, you got to be a grown man to win that National Player of the Year trophy and a grown man to lift it, and that's what Oscar is. That's a major hit to Kentucky right now, still being listed as day-to-day, but he anchors everything for this Kentucky team. The defense changes, the offense changes, the transition game changes. And with him on the bench tonight, Howard feels like they can hold their own on the backboard, on the defensive glass, and cause Kentucky problems. You combine that with the missing point guard, Kentucky's got a lot of questions entering this opening night.
All right, on the other side, a very good point guard for the Howard Bison. They were just 9-5 in the MEAC last year, but they had a great February, and the guy that kind of makes them go is Elijah Hawkins, who reminds his head coach, Kenny Blakeney, of a guy he played with at Duke, Bobby Hurley.
Yeah, pretty good comparison. This kid's about 5'10", MEAC Freshman of the Year last year. His game is borderline reckless and aggressive, but that's his style, and Kenny's going to turn him loose tonight. Can Kentucky keep him out of the paint is one of the first few things I know that both coaching staffs and myself are going to be looking for. He's a terrific little talent, brings a lot of courage and a lot of toughness to this Howard team.
All right, let's get to know these Kentucky Wildcats. 26-8 last year, 14-4 in the league. And you know what? You don't need to hear from me and Jimmy. Just sit back and enjoy opening night in college basketball and the starting lineup for the Kentucky Wildcats.
Freshman from Akron, Ohio, number 24, Livingston. Forward, 6'9" sophomore from Camden, New Jersey, number 55, Ware. Forward, 6'9" senior from Brooklyn, New York, number 0, Toppin. 6'4" freshman from Dallas, Texas, number 22, Cason Wallace. At guard, 6'3", 22 senior from Cincinnati, Ohio, number 1, C.J.
All right, so there's John Calipari, and Jimmy, the expectations are always through the roof here at Kentucky, but you consider the last couple of years, first-round exit in the NCAA tournament. They missed it the year before. John Calipari wants to get this program back to where everyone thinks they belong. That's at least a Final Four, if not a national title.
Well, his players have talked about chasing 9, and that's the 9th national championship for Kentucky that they would like to hang in Rupp Arena. His challenge tonight, Tom, is, again, they're undermanned with only 8 scholarship players. Anytime you walk into the Kraft Center and there's 1 basket per player, that's not a good sign, and that's where they were yesterday and today. He challenged his team to fight, rebound, defend, and run. If you can dominate those 4 things tonight, it sets up a lot of good things for Kentucky. This guy can flat out coach. He's done a terrific job taking over a program that was always in the bottom 340 or 350th in the country. They believe in who they are. They have a toughness about them. They have length to hold up in this game. They're very well prepared and very confident for the opening tip.
Played at Duke, part of a couple of national championships for Mike Krzyzewski. Played for Hall of Famer Morgan Wooten at DeMatha, and leads the Howard team that has never beaten a top 25 opponent. 0-32 all time against the top 25. Here's a look at the production loss from last season, and that is without Oscar Tshiebwe, who's not available tonight. Jimmy, I don't think we'll see him against Duquesne Friday, and the hope is that he can get back in time for the champions, but even then, he'll likely be limited.
Yeah, it's an interesting development right now for Kentucky with that injury to Oscar. I know you want him full speed when the big games matter, but the biggest game for Kentucky right now on the schedule is this one right here for the next 2 hours.
Challenge is real for Howard. They are 0-8 all time against top 10 teams and have lost by an average of 49 points. They've gone against Hall of Famers Jay Wright, Tom Izzo, Huggy, Crum, Roy, and Dean Smith the first time, and they lost by 40. Lance Ware with the rebound. He'll have an opportunity tonight, so will Cason Wallace, a freshman who will run the point without Wheeler here.
Heavy minutes out of Kentucky's starting 5 tonight with only 3 scholarship guys on the bench.
Here's Wallace. It's his birthday today, turning 19. He said this would be his best birthday present. First college home game, and it comes in front of a great crowd here at Rupp Arena. Shot clock getting late. Challenge 3 and a foul. And Jacob Toppin will go to the free throw line. And Kentucky looked a little bogged down. They looked pretty good in their last exhibition against Kentucky State. They put 111 on the board.
The only time you're allowed to curse as a head coach is when your guy fouls a jump shooter. Now, I'm not big into cursing. I'm not promoting it, but that is the one time in life I think it's okay. Because the first 29.5 seconds defensively for Howard was locked down.
It was Jordan Wood, the junior from San Antonio, got charged with the foul. And we'll talk a little bit more about him on the offensive end. Toppin, a 75% free throw shooter last year.
Tom, what I saw in Howard's first possession, heavy ball pressure. And they are forcing the ball to stay on the side. Not easy to reverse the ball tonight if you're Kentucky. Expect John Calipari, after he saw that first possession, to get the ball in the middle part of the floor and attack the middle third.
I know you said this 14 minutes ago when we first came on the air, but this is a Howard team that expects to win.
They do. They've got transfers. They got an edge about them. Old wins in college basketball, especially early.
Jordan Wood gives it up, and then Ware was on the baseline. New chance for Howard. Who should we watch when Howard has the basketball?
Well, the point guard, Hawkins, sets it all up, but Jordan Wood, who missed the first corner 3 right here, 24 in dark blue. NBA scouts have gone through that Howard practice facility over the last month with their eyes on 24 in blue.
He had 18 points in their exhibition game. He had 5 of 10 from 3. They were 3 heavy, and that's a big block by Ware. He rejects Steve Settle. Preseason all-conference in the MEAC. Wallace let his man get by. Wood has an open 3.
Boy, 2 good looks by Howard in their first 2 or 3 possessions with a clean 3 ball.
Wallace tried to dump it down, taken away by the Bison. Steve Settle, 6'10 junior. Preseason second team all MEAC. Last year, all conference, made 28 starts. Good ball movement. Veteran from the corner, Jelani Williams. And it'll stay this way. Chris Livingston with the foul.
Well, there's that middle third attack I thought Cal would quickly go to, and he did. It's just a misread by Cason Wallace. That pass has to be up top for the lob play. And this is a Howard team that got punished on the boards last year, but they've gone out and gotten size. And Dixon's one of them as a grad transfer out of the Ivy League.
And Dixon makes it a three-point play. He has an amazing story. He's from Holcomb, Kansas, outside of Wichita. Played at Cornell. You don't get extra years in the Ivy, and Howard, being a prestigious academic institution itself, has found that to be a great spot to get some of these transfers. Another late possession. Wallace.
Yeah, the ball gets to the rim, though, with Wallace up top. Kentucky showing really good patience to not settle for tough shots early in the shot clock with all that ball pressure that Howard's throwing on him.
Howard just 1 for 5 from the floor so far. They're coming off of an exhibition game where 70% of their attempts came from three. And a takeaway by Jacob Toppin. He was wide open. Here's C.J. Frederick in transition. Back to Toppin. Down the lane, and he'll go to the free throw line.
Jacob Toppin has the ability to go from a role player last year at 6 points a game to an all-SEC, if not a first-round pick. He has really grown in the mid-range game. The mid-range jump shot is there. His ability now to shot fake and attack the rim with violence. A big part of this Kentucky offense, I think, this year.
Left that free throw short. He went through the NBA pre-draft process in the spring, worked out for a few teams, and talking to him about that experience, he said, what I really learned, and of course, you know, his brother plays in the NBA. He said, I learned that you're not always going to have a great day, but pros work through those bad days and put the work in each and every day. Hawkins for three. And Howard just 1 for 6 to start this game. Toppin to the baseline. His mid-range jumper is vastly improved. He's put in the work in the gym. That one's off the mark. Here's Wood wide open. And he has missed a couple now.
3 wide open looks for Wood.
Wallace, what a move.
That Kentucky run game clicking early. Cason Wallace gets lost defensively, though, in defensive transition. Mistakes Kentucky can't afford to make tonight, giving up easy ones.
Hawkins knocks down the 3. Interesting matchup with Wallace versus Hawkins at the point. 17-footer off the back rim.
Kentucky keeps the ball in the middle third, but they're settling that time. Wallace did for a tough 16-footer early in the clock.
Here's Wood again, and he is struggling. About 20,000 in here tonight. That's something that this Howard team has not seen. Here's C.J. Frederick. His first regular season action for Kentucky. He's off the mark. This one is tight early.
Cason Wallace going to have a lot on him tonight as a true freshman point guard. His game right now in transition is exceptional. The ball fake, the easy finish for 22 in white.
Well, college basketball has not had the consensus National Player of the Year return to school since 2008. But that's what we get with Oscar Tshiebwe. He is out with a knee injury currently, and there he is with the Naismith Trophy presented pregame as the National Player of the Year. It's hard, Jimmy, to find just one accolade, one stat that really makes him stand out. He broke Shaq's 30-year Rupp record with 28 rebounds in a game. He averaged 15 boards a game. He's told us before the season he wanted to average 20. It hadn't been since Bill Walton, the player in the Power Conference, averaged 15 boards and 15 points since Bill Walton did it for UCLA. I mean, it's amazing in all of that. And he is even a better person than he is a player. He is more like for his attitude and who he is as a person than his basketball skill here in the Commonwealth.
Yeah, plays the game and life with a lot of joy.
Yeah.
I love that word, how you describe him. And Now he's back as the National Player of the Year. Last time we had it in college basketball was Tyler Hansbrough from North Carolina, who did not repeat as National Player of the Year when he came back. But North Carolina did win the national championship that year.
Yeah, the team got better when Hansbrough came back.
Howard has ran good offense, Tom. They just have not been able to knock down that 3 ball other than Hawkins throwing one in.
In fact, I don't think Hawkins got credit for the 3. Stat monitor has him 0 for 6 from deep. Again, late in the possession on the Howard side, a little jump hook off from Jelani Williams, a loose ball. Will go off of Kentucky and stay with Howard. Jelani Williams is a transfer from Penn, one of those Ivy transfers.
Howard has a lot of length, but not a lot of strength around the rim. They're going to have to hang in this game on the boards and not get punked by Kentucky, because it could easily happen with the size that Kentucky puts on that floor.
Onyenso checks in for the Cats. He was a late add to this recruiting class. He is a shot blocking machine.
Yeah, should just be a senior in high school, 33 in white, but will get major minutes.
And here's Antonio Reeves. Reeves is going to play a key role for Kentucky this year.
He can really score the ball. Out of Illinois State, took about 16 shots a game last year, so he's a heavy volume kid offensively. Stay in the middle.
Keeps it.
Yeah, I just really like that off the bat by Kentucky, recognizing Howard wants to pin you on the side, and your best plan of attack is right down the middle third of the floor.
Hawkins off the screen, gets into the paint. That's dangerous. Onyenso sends it back.
Yes. Terrific timing by Onyenso to be the second guy off the floor, right?
And then a foul on the other side. So no Oscar Tshiebwe, but Onyenso getting some early run and having an opportunity.
Well, defensively is where he can impact the game as a kid that should be a senior in high school. He's 6'11". He asks great questions in practice. He's quick off of his feet. His timing is exceptional for a kid that is really still new to the game.
He joined this Kentucky team after they got back from their international tour down to the Bahamas. And another one going against Howard, and this is on Elijah Hawkins, their point guard. Interesting talk with Kenny Blakeney about Hawkins in the comp he's made to Bobby Hurley, and he said, yeah, that's right, because we want him and we need him to play reckless. You don't often hear a coach say that about a point guard.
No, you don't, but you got to know your personnel and know how a kid's wired. And Hawkins has a gambling game on both ends of the floor. And he has to gamble smart tonight in Rupp Arena to keep his team in this thing.
Here's Reeves off the screen. A push shot from the baseline.
Really well done on the pull-up, because Howard is so good at running to the ball when you try to punch the paint. Kentucky on top of it early with the pull-up jump shots.
Reeves was second in the Missouri Valley in scoring last year. One of the top scorers in college basketball, about 20 a game.
Now, where's the offense come from, Howard, other than Hawkins right now?
Steve Settle has not been able to get his hand on the ball on the offensive end. Another block by Onyenso. 6'11", 225, 2 blocks early. Reeves, 3. And Settle with the board. See the value of Jelani Williams, 6'5", 201, handling the ball up the floor. Jump shot is short.
Onyenso got a piece of that one too. He's got 3 blocks and a piece of one in 2 minutes.
C.J. Frederick over.
Wow,
what a board by Toppin.
That's that aggressiveness and athleticism that Toppin can throw at you. It's unique. That guy 6'9" just went and snatched it with 2. If he tries to get it with 1, it's probably deflected off.
Yeah, 44-inch vertical is pretty unique, huh? Williams drew the foul from Frederick and got it to roll home, and Jelani Williams will go to the free throw line.
Yeah, Jacob Toppin just surges to the rim and flies above everybody. That's a strong rebound with 2 hands that Cal demands every day in practice, and that's why you do it. There's traffic involved in the play. And no stopping Toppin on that one.
Let me tell you the story about Jelani Williams if you don't know. He played for Steve Donahue at Penn. He lost 3 years to torn ACLs. First occurred his senior year of high school. He finally played for Penn last year. It had been 1,789 days between games. Donahue was interviewed. He said, you know, part of me hoped at one point he would just come in the office and say, Coach, I gave it my best. I think it's time for me to use my education and move on. But he battled, and if there's anybody to root for in college hoops this year, it's this guy, Jelani Williams.
Yeah, he goes out of the game right now, number 5 in blues, who you've been talking about, but a terrific story of perseverance, betting on yourself. And he's the leader of this Howard team, unquestionable.
DC product out of Sidwell Friends. Toppin out to Thiero.
Good ball fake.
And now Toppin for 3. And Cat struggling from deep, 0 for 4.
Struggling to get the ball reversed against that side pressure of Howard's defense.
Loose ball, Cason Wallace forces the steal, 3-on-2 for Kentucky. Here's Thiero. Got caught under the rim and got the benefit of a whistle on Shai Odom.
Howard can't turn this thing over, Tom. They're going to stay in it. That's the 3rd or 4th turnover. Cason with the quick, strong hands defensively on ball triggers that turnover.
You got a chance to watch Kenny Blakeney's team for a couple hours in their practice last night. At their best, what do they look like?
A team that could win the MEAC and be in the NCAA tournament. They're picked 3rd right now behind Norfolk State. I think is a team that's gone back-to-back NCAAs out of that league. But Norfolk State, North Carolina Central, Howard are ranked 1, 2, and 3. They're aggressive, middle, no defense, can cause you problems, and they want to play fast. They actually practice with a 14-second shot clock every day.
Wow.
They want to bring the gas, all gas, no brakes mentality.
Thiero 1 of 2 from the line. Joe Bryant, Norfolk State reigning player of the year in that conference, is back. 8 out of the 10 all-conference players in the MEAC return this year. Hey, welcome back, college basketball, huh? Isn't it great? We got opening night right now, Jimmy.
Now you have to remember, you can pass this ball, but you can't run with it. Are you clear on this?
Where are the goalposts?
Good drive and kick. Just cannot finish it off with a made jump shot so far.
Oof, they are 0 for 7 from deep. They are just 3 for 18 from the floor. Here's Reeves. He can stroke it, and he's off the mark. First night jitters.
Yeah, Howard cannot get out in front of Kentucky's defense. Kentucky running really hard, Tom, both ways early. Offensive.
Indeed. And the fouls piling up for this Howard team. That is 6th team foul.
Good call by Patrick Evans. You officiate from the ground up and you officiate from the defense over. The offensive player goes to and through. Easy call.
With its hands full against Howard here early on, just as we expected. No Oscar Tshiebwe for the Cats tonight. How about your player of the year candidates?
Well, these are guys I have my eyes on early, and I think the nation will as well. Obviously, Tshiebwe, Drew Timme at Gonzaga, Armando Bacot from North Carolina, Hunter Dickinson. If Michigan wins the Big Ten, and he is what I think he is, he'll be in that conversation. If there's a guard, Tom, right now that can win the National Player of the Year, keep an eye on Marcus Sasser from Houston. He was averaging about 17 last year when he went out in December. But if he comes back as the full-speed Marcus Sasser, that kid could jump up there as well. Can Houston get to the Final Four? It's being hosted in their hometown.
Wouldn't that be something?
That'd be a terrific story to follow. But that Houston team's no joke once again.
I got a road trip to Virginia here. First couple months of the season. Oscar Tshiebwe over 1,000 points between his career playing for Bob Huggins at West Virginia and John Calipari here at Kentucky. They presented him with 1,000-point ball before the game, along with the Naismith Trophy. Hard screen from Livingston in the backcourt. Reeves left open. How do you leave that guy? Antonio Reeves cashes in.
Reeves and C.J. Frederick in transition. Tom, you have to pick those guys up a step and a half or 2 steps higher than normal. They have a green light and a beautiful stroke.
Thomas Weaver running the point now for Howard. He was banged up last year, concussion plus a foot injury. They certainly have enough ball handlers they can put in there. Here's Reese Brown. UNLV transfer gives it up. And a corner jumper goes.
They make the toughest one they've taken because that was a guarded 3. And Howard now 4 out of 18 from the floor to start this game.
Shai Odom, who made the bucket, he now has as many points as personal fouls in this first half. C.J. Frederick out with injury all of last year. Said if there's a silver lining, it was a chance to learn John Calipari in the program. And he took a shot on that drive. Reese Brown with a foul.
Antonio Reeves in transition. That's just too clean of a look.
Yeah.
And there was a miscommunication. A guy fell down the backcourt, but someone's got to step up. And there's Shai Odom from the corner. Shai Odom from Howard, Tom, you mentioned him. He was on target to be a player like at a Kentucky or a Duke or a North Carolina his sophomore year in high school. Had 2 major knee surgeries and kind of fell off the recruiting rankings, but they think, Howard does, that they got a real steal in this kid if he comes back to what he was at sophomore year in high school. He was on everybody's national radar about 3 years ago.
Well, it was only a couple of years ago that Kenny Blakeney made history when they signed 5-star Maker, who was first 5-star to sign with an HBCU. He only ended up playing 5 games for Howard due to the COVID season. C.J. Frederick knocks down the first.
This stroke is flawless. He was a clinic with me. Seth Greenberg and I were here for their pro day, and he did a demo with me on the floor, just talking about shooting the basketball. He grew up shooting a sock in the sock drawer. He and Grady Dick, the freshman from Kansas, as good as shooters as we have in college ball right now to start the season.
What'd you learn from CJ that day?
The importance of shooting fundamentally sound even when you're 3 or 4 years old. And he grew up, like I said, shooting a sock into a sock drawer and has developed it from there. But great shooters can teach shooting. That's what CJ can do.
Hey, moms, listen to that, because if you can get your kids to pick up your laundry at an early age by making a game of it. Kobe Dixon with the bucket. He's got 5. Howard hanging in, down 6. He'll stay with Kentucky. 9:38 to play, and the Cats shooting only 46% here early on.
Kentucky only 2 fouls. That's a big emphasis for Cal coming to this game. With a lack of depth, can they defend without fouling? So far, so good for the home team.
What was John Calipari's biggest concern coming into tonight?
How hard we're going to have to fight. Yeah,
CJ.
I'm telling you, that's automatic. It is automatic. He can shoot it off the bounce. He can sidestep. He can make violent cuts off of down screens and get his feet underneath him. As good a shooter as we have in the college game.
Settle has it stripped on his way in. 47% shooter, C.J. Frederick.
C.J. Frederick is big on making sure his hips are squared up to the rim on the release. A lot of guys talk about their feet, their shoulders. He's big on his hips, which lines up his entire body.
Tore his hamstring off the bone in the layup line against Duke in the opener last year. Didn't tell anybody. Stayed in his warm-ups. Wood is really struggling shooting. Great article by Kyle Tucker of The Athletic over this past summer, talking about everything CJ has been through and what he could mean to this team. Here he is again. And he finds Reeves. Toppin gets up and draws the foul. We're talking with John Calipari today about the opportunity to have 2 shooters on the floor more often than not, C.J. Frederick and Antonio Reeves. Why does that make sense for Kentucky?
Well, think about it. If Oscar Tshiebwe's on the floor, what are you going to do? Because now the floor is really spaced. And Oscar Tshiebwe, you know you can't guard him one-on-one, man-to-man around the rim. And Kentucky lacked the shooting last year to keep the traffic off of Tshiebwe, and he still is the National Player of the Year. So you have a shooter on both sides of the floor to balance that thing out. That big cat right there can have another monster season for Kentucky when he gets healthy.
Had 30 and 16 in the last game against St. Peter's. Toppin knocks him down. As a Kentucky team that made 6 threes a game last year, really with only 1 threat from behind the arc. That changes.
Can Howard hang in the game when the jump shots aren't falling?
Hawkins, nice pass.
Wow, that's beautiful, wasn't it? You talk about a 5'9" guy that got in traffic, kept his composure, and found Dixon in front of the rim.
Toppin falling off on that one. Here's Settle. And he'll get a trip to the free throw line.
I like the aggressive drive, though, by Settle, not settling for something up top. Look at Hawkins. Just planting his feet, comes to a jump stop off two, continues to make a play. Howard Bison trying to hang in Rupp Arena.
There's neither team shooting the ball well so far tonight. Freedom Reeves is on that bench for Howard, and there's his dad, Ving, who is not the only celebrity in the building because Jimmy's here too. Gold Glove Award winner in '98. He just got into town, flew in from London. He just finished filming Mission Impossible 8, Dead Reckoning. I know you're a big Mission Impossible fan. He said, man, that's a really tight turnaround to get here from London. An opportunity to watch him doesn't come up that often. And one of the things we talked about pregame was a chance to play for Kenny Blakeney. He said, listen, if your kid is going to go play college basketball, the guy he's playing for is basically a surrogate father. And you've got to believe in him as a man as much as you do a basketball coach. Yeah. I thought that was pretty enlightening.
I think his kids do. And Kenny was so proud of Howard University last night, visiting with him, talking about they are the #1 HBCU academic college in the country. They're in the top 10% nationally overall. So much to offer, a great line of alma mater for folks to say that was my home as well. I'm big into Mission Impossible. You're right. Luther Stickle, right? Wasn't he the agent Luther Stickle? Mission Impossible?
Do you have that gum that you fold over and turn into a bomb? You're not going to blow up a fish tank tonight, are you? Reeves with the dish. Here's Lance Ware. Frederick found it. And he draws another foul on Jordan Wood. That's the second. You mentioned this about Howard early on. Kenny Blakeney not happy with that call. Jordan Wood is a guy that they need to be in the game. He hasn't shot the ball well. Now he's committed a couple of fouls.
Well, he's 0 for 5 from the three-point line, and he has struggled, Jordan Wood, with his confidence the first 2 years. Number 24 in blue. Interesting, Tom. He ran a marathon this summer. Jordan Wood did. Kenny Blakeney challenged him to do something hard. Something that makes you going to understand that I can do better than what I'm doing.
Kind of like Mission Impossible.
Yeah, very much so. As he checks out of the ball game right now, but he told me, as most marathoners do, that mile 20 through 21 was the toughest part of the run. But he said, man, my confidence in who I am as an athlete, that I can handle hard things, adversity, I think he's set for a really good year. He's just missed wide open shots so far tonight, but he's a major player for Howard this year in that MEAC.
Frederick knocks down the free throw. He's got 6. Here's Hawkins. Kicks it to Jelani Williams. And Howard just 1 for 10 from deep.
Boy, and Hawkins is putting the ball right on target for the shooters.
Cason Wallace has had a pretty good game tonight.
He has. He hasn't turned the ball over. He's had severe ball pressure to deal with by Hawkins.
Challenged long 2. Rebound Livingston, and a freshman puts it right back up and in.
Another big boy rebound, this time out of Livingston. Again, winning rebounds in traffic are only gotten with 2 hands. Livingston did it well.
Odom, high off the window, that's no good.
Good job by Kentucky to try to blow up those handoff plays offensively by Howard.
Ware's man fell down. Toppin for 3. Got it. Kentucky on a roll now.
He has worked hours and hours to become a reliable three-point shooter. At 6'9", can always get good vision of the rim, and a little bit of a spurt right now by Kentucky.
Cats have opened up their largest lead of the game thanks to a 6-0 run.
Good ball reversal. Howard doesn't get out and overplay and keep the ball forced on the side. Kentucky whips that thing around and says one more to Jacob Toppin in the corner, who sticks it.
Toppin, 1 of 2 from 3 so far tonight. Cats, after a slow start, have now hit 4 of 10 from deep. Coming into the season, John Calipari talked about the length. We don't see it all tonight. Damian Collins and Oscar Tshiebwe. Oscar out with a knee injury. Damian's dad passed away. He's going to rejoin the team shortly, but not with the team currently. And Cal talked about his best teams have always featured great rim protectors. Why is that so important in the game these days?
Well, I look up, and Tshiebwe, although he's not playing, he already has 7 rebounds credited to. First of all, he's that good. He's that dominant of a rebounder. But this is a kid that's has just done some spectacular special things. And he says one day he wants to move back to Kentucky when he's finish with his playing days and buy a farm, and it will be a big farm, and make Kentucky his home. He could probably be the governor someday. That's how popular he is. But Kentucky completely changes, Tom, when he's on the floor on both ends.
Another Howard turnover. That's the 5th of the game for the Bison.
Kentucky had that timeout, keeping the ball in the middle third, the first part of that possession. And Calipari's middle ball screen action this year. When Severe Wheeler's back on the floor, Antonio Reeves can handle it. C.J. Frederick can actually play out of a ball screen some. And you get Tshiebwe on a rim roll, or Jacob Toppin on a pop. Hard to cover.
Toppin gets it into Ware. And blocked from behind by Settle. Ware contested that one. Livingston gets on the floor. He got smashed by Dixon. Loose ball, pinballs off of Ware. Cats have it. Here's Toppin. And now Frederick mid-range. What a sequence for Kentucky.
Sometimes your team deserves for the ball to go in, and that time it was Kentucky. Flying on the floor to keep the possession alive and keep the ball alive. And a tremendous shot fake sell by C.J. Frederick.
Howard only 25% shooting here tonight. Left short. C.J. Frederick, defender there. He really takes great pride for a shooter and what he does on the defensive end.
Yeah, he's a low mistake on both ends of the floor type kid. Tom, we mentioned that Cal told his guys this morning the #1 thing in this ball game is to fight. Well, what does that look like on film? Watch this series right here. Fight, get on the floor, bam, don't be afraid of contact. Keep scrambling, come up with it, stay alive. Kick it ahead, come up with it. That's fighting on film. And Cal will take that play tomorrow and show his guys this is what we have to be every single night. And again, sometimes the ball deserves to go in by the effort. Well done by Kentucky.
Cats currently on an 8-0 run over the last 3 minutes. Howard last year 16-13, their first winning season in 2 decades.
Yeah.
Helped by a February in which they went 8-1. See if Wood can get going. And nope, that one rejected, but Dixon inside. Kobe Dixon's leading the way for Howard with 9.
Dixon's a below the rim post player. Good job by Onyenso in that drop coverage to force a tough 2 early.
Toppin back rims it. See if Hawkins can make something happen. Nice look. Unfortunately, Onyenso is waiting.
It's not going to work. I mean, Howard's going to keep testing 33 in white, and they're going to keep failing the test.
Reeves, corner 3.
That's what you give up. That shot block is just like a turnover. And it ignites that Kentucky run game that is so good early, running to those deep corners.
Dangerous pass and a Howard turnover.
Looks like Onyenso have 4 blocks in this game, and it just ignites that Kentucky transition game. His timing is spectacular. He gets balls up top, and then Kentucky plays with a hot ball on the back end of it. Bam! Reeves with a corner 3.
Hey guys, you know what makes us happy? Opening night of college basketball season and seeing Patrick Young on the set. How great is that? I mean, if you know him from his playing days, the SEC Defensive Player of the Year, car accident this summer, and he is back. And I don't know if there's any more joy in basketball next to Oscar Tshiebwe that we get from Patrick Young.
No, there's not. He was phenomenal on our conference call last week with all the folks in college basketball with ESPN. I had him on my podcast, and that guy is a warrior in every sense of the word. And I mean, his spirit, his belief, and the special things that still in front of his life. And Patrick, it is so good, man. It's so good to see you back, to hear your voice, and to call you a friend.
We did mention Cats could shoot the ball a little bit better. Neither team scorching the nets here early on. Here's Reeves with one cut. Got it. You say cut with violence.
Yeah. And I say Calipari again coming out of the timeout. Let's keep the ball in the middle third of the floor. and attack downhill. And this time it's not a lob play out of the dunker spot. It's a hard cut from the far corner. And the timing of the cut is tremendous because, Tom, if you go too early out that corner, you find yourself under the rim or on the backside. Beautiful timing by Antonio Reeves.
Couldn't finish the three-point play. Hawkins has the rebound.
And it is danger zone right now for Howard with 3:20 to go in this first half.
Hawkins left it short.
Not making Kentucky work on the defensive end.
Loose ball collected by Howard. And then given right back. Hawkins went for the steal. Settle. And they're going to count it. Onyenso's got 3 blocks tonight. Can't pick up his 4th. And Settle will go to the line for a 3-point opportunity.
Howard trying to hang in this game with their own hot hands defensively around the ball, coming up with some turnovers and trying to score in transitions. Settle weighed $145 as a freshman.
That's right.
When he came to Howard, and he's not a whole lot more than that right now, maybe 180, but he was a 5'9" point guard as a freshman at DeMatha Catholic. Has a ton of potential, a lot of length, but contact plays still bother 2 in blue.
Picked up the nickname Silky Smooth. Sometimes Silk runs.
From your wardrobe? What are you talking about?
That's right. Three-point play. The full court man for Howard. Another look for a trap at midcourt. Reeves, as they break it, too strong, and Kentucky basketball.
If Howard's going to press Kentucky, Kentucky has to think we're going to score 100 on them. If they're going to extend their defense like that and let Kentucky get going downhill and the transition run game loose, if you're Kentucky, you attack, and attack some more.
And that's a mindset as much as anything?
Absolutely. So strong. Man, he's strong. He is a bull as a basketball point guard for a true freshman. Not a jet, but his strength makes him a half step faster.
Donald's All-America, 5-star recruit. Cason Wallace on his birthday. And a bucket inside. Kobe Dixon's got 11. Reeves, 3 ball.
Boy, they can stretch you, can't they? You got C.J. Frederick on the right side, Antonio Reeves running the left side. And they stretch you out in a really good find in early transition by the Cats.
Settle early.
Settle.
Yep. Frederick. Foul on the 3-point shot. That's a second on Reese Brown. And if you look at the SEC this year, more top 5-star recruits than any other conference in the country, and Kentucky's got a couple of them. Chris Livingston has number 12th ranking in ESPN's top 100, 2-time Gatorade Player of the Year, 2 different states, and then his classmate Cason Wallace.
Kentucky brings in 2 top 100 guys. Duke brought in 5. Arkansas out of the SEC signed 5 as well. But Kentucky has gone to the transfer portal some, and if you're just now joining us, a shortened bench tonight. No Oscar Tshiebwe, no Salvador Wheeler, no Damian Collins. 8 scholarship guys to work with, and those 8 have done really well the first 18 minutes of this ball game.
Yeah, what's really interesting is what will be the strength of Kentucky's team from a big picture standpoint is going to be the experience. But yet tonight, you pointed this out at practice. What do we got? Who was in a Kentucky uniform and actually on the floor last year who's available tonight? Toppin.
Yeah, Toppin. Lance Ware got a few minutes here and there. C.J. Frederick was redshirted. All new faces on the floor in Rupp tonight. They have really defended their tails off, Kentucky has, for the most part.
Hawkins going to let it fly, and that's a dynamic play that he offers. It's boom or bust with him.
Yeah, if you're small and he is 5'9", you have to be able to shoot it from distance. If you can't, then the floor just shrinks on you.
Kenny Blakely called him reckless and dynamic. Quite a combo. Near steal for Howard. Onyenso off the window.
A reckless pass by Frederick that gets away with it because of the soft hands and the ability of Onyenso to keep that ball alive.
Oh, good challenge by Onyenso again. May have gone through the rim.
The recovery length and speed of Onyenso is special.
And he gets down the floor and will come to the line for a chance at three. I don't want to say Onyenso was an afterthought because that's not fair, but when you have a guy like Oscar Tshiebwe already inside, they didn't think they'd be leaning on Onyenso early.
Well, look at the special effort. He blocks the shot on one end, which ignites the run game. And he's right there to finish up the miss on the other end. He's got tremendously soft hands. He's a sponge in practice. He asks great questions, and he's going against the National Player of the Year from a year ago every day. He's only going to get better and better and better as the year goes on.
11 rebounds and 4 blocks against Kentucky State in their final exhibition game. Hawkins keeps it. Shot clock under 10.
That was crazy. That was the Nash dribble that resulted in a wreck.
Here's Thiero. Howard gets a block out of it. Thiero got shoved and will go to the line. Reckless supplies on the other end.
Kentucky about to hang a half of 100 on Howard in this opening 20 minutes. Kentucky has, again, Tom, they defended without fouling. Howard not in the one-on-one, in the one-on-one. Kentucky only 5 personal fouls. And Kentucky's only turned it over 5 times. Those are winning numbers.
That was a third on Odom. Thiero makes it go. And South Carolina starts its quest for the program's 3rd national championship coming up next. Gamecocks return 4 starters, including Lab Boston, National Player of the Year. Terry Saxon back for her 5th season. And Dawn Staley thinks this team has the potential to be better than last year.
Yeah, Leah Boston is the best player in the women's game on both ends of the floor.
Heave at the buzzer, short. Wow, dominating first half for Kentucky, even though they got off to a really cold start from the floor. But the curtain is up. College basketball season is underway, and that means plenty to talk about in a loaded night in the SEC. 25 top 25 teams in action tonight. Here's Daria and the Pats to take you through it. And the refurbished Rupp Arena looks fantastic from outside. Looks even better inside when the team's on the floor. The exhibition season has been put to bed, and we are underway. 1 half into it. Kentucky nearly half 100 in the first 20 minutes of action tonight, and after a slow start, doing their thing. Tom Hart, Jimmy Dykes, what else jumped at you about the Cats so far?
How clean of a first half Kentucky played with, Tom. They only 5 turnovers, and they only fouled 5 times. And they really fought their tails off, which Cal challenged them earlier today. They've had great balance. Cason Wallace has been terrific as a freshman point guard with a lot on him, a lot of ball pressure that he's handled well. And Cal quickly saw that side defensive pressure by Howard and started keeping that ball in the middle part of the floor. Wallace is the trigger guy. He can drive it downhill. He's a big physical guard. They can finish through contact. He's a terrific passer, but he's got some help tonight. Antonio Reeves has been really good making plays out of the corner, knocking down the 3 ball in transition. Kentucky has shot the ball well because they've taken good shots. Jacob Toppin has 9 points and 8 rebounds. He almost had a double-double the first 20 minutes, but very impressed with the floor game and the steadiness and the maturity of Cason Wallace.
Played all but 1 minute in the first half. Antonio Reeves is the leading scorer with 3 threes. Wallace 4 assists to a couple of turnovers. Once again, Xavier Wheeler not available tonight. He's out with a knee injury. Didn't see him participate much at shoot-around today. They would certainly love to have him back, 2-time SEC assist leader. And now Howard goes zone to start the second half.
He's trying to change the game up. Is Coach Blakeney.
Cal wasn't happy with that shot from Toppin. Here's Jelani Williams.
Wow, you won't be happy with that either. Take a timeout.
Right? He's taking a timeout immediately.
I don't blame him. I mean, you give up a 2-line layup to start the second half and take a bad shot against the zone. Lots to talk about in this first timeout from Coach Cal.
Why would a coach take a timeout 33 seconds into the second half? We'll give you 2 reasons why.
Yeah, it's very clear. Jacob Toppin takes a guarded shot against the zone, leans back a little bit, misses badly, and then on the other end, I mean, this was as bad of a defense as we've seen so far from Kentucky in this game. They get sealed off at the rim, give up a wide open layup. And Cal's saying shot fake, move the ball against the zone, but our transition defense non-existent and quickly on top of his guys because of it. Well, he knows he's got a special team this year. There's not a hungrier fan base in all of college basketball wanting a deep run in a Final Four appearance than this Kentucky fan base. And he knows what he's charged with, and he's got the team to do it this year when they're healthy.
Going to be a loaded top half of the SEC, at least the top 4 teams. Texas A&M just outside that top 4. Already a lot of people like their chances this year and what Buzz Williams got coming back.
I think on opening night, haven't checked the Tennessee score, but I think they're the best team right now. Kentucky, Arkansas, Alabama, Auburn, A&M. Probably 7 or 8 teams out of the SEC will work their way into that NCAA tournament.
Volunteers get Tennessee Tech, coached by one of the unforgettables, John Pelphrey.
Yeah.
Sakai Ziegler back for the Volunteers. That's a really talented backcourt. Livingston.
Yeah. No hesitation by Livingston. Really good flash of the logo. Got his shoulder squares, his hip flare. Let it fly.
Williams cut off. And muscled in by Kobe Dixon, the Cornell transfer.
And just a good enough of a shot fake by Dixon to free up that lane drive. And powered through the contact. Could have been a foul on Ware as well.
26 starts for Cornell last year, second in the Ivy in blocked shots.
That's a big spread out zone. It looks like it goes man to man on an elbow touch.
Shot clock at 6. Here's Lance Ware all alone and draws a foul. Another on Settle, his second.
What a hard drive, though, by Livingston out of that corner. And an equally hard, purposeful cut by Lance Ware off the bounce. Hard drive, get lower than the defender. And before contact comes, it doesn't knock you off balance. And Ware with really good hands off of a hard cut.
Here's Ware, had a good spring. Went on a tour of Brazil over the summer and went for 30 points a game, 8 boards. And New Jersey native came back from that trip talking about how that built his confidence on the offensive end.
What I love about Lance Ware, knowing that he's going to be behind the National Player of the Year again this season, didn't run. Didn't run from hard, didn't transfer, didn't look for another option. Has stuck right in here and trying to make himself a viable piece of this Kentucky team. Most guys run from hard these days, not Lance Ware.
I take an Uber when I see hard coming.
Yeah, you do.
That's right. Ooh. 3 blocks. Let me fire up the app. Quick entry for Kentucky after the ball went out of bounds. Here's Frederick.
So good. You press Kentucky, you're asking for it. And that time, again, CJ really sells that shot fake, which you have to respect.
Jumper off, Frederick with the board. Here's Cason Wallace now. Right back to him, and CJ with the left.
He is so much more than just a spectacular jump shooter. A low turnover kid at Iowa. Doesn't make mistakes defensively. Can put the ball on the floor.
Took a shot just above the eye on that pass. Ware finds it. See if CJ can knock down a shot with one eye.
Tom, C.J. Frederick got to the free throw line 6 or 7 times in the first half because he's much more than just a jump shooter. The jump shooter is beautiful. It's automatic. It's as good as we have in the college game, but he's good in transition. He's good with either hand around the rim. Tremendous lockdown defender in terms of an off-ball guy in position. He's the real deal.
And he's a really nice guy, too. So quickly, we're leaving the Kraft Center today after practice. I was trying to follow you out of the parking lot, and I got turned around and almost ran into CJ. And I windowed down. I apologize. I said, sorry, it's my first time here. I don't know where I'm going. I was trying to be funny. I've been there a few times. And he said, oh, well, can I help you? Where are you trying to get to?
When you're that good, you can be nice.
I think he senses the opportunity in front of him after a lost season last year. There's Toppin. I mean, sometimes I get lost. I need somebody standing on the corner with a big arrow. Wiggle, wiggle, whoosh. Tell me where I need to go.
I've seen you before.
Knocked away by Toppin.
Good alertness by Toppin to whip that lead hand around and whip his eyes around and find that pass. It was going to be a layup if not.
The defense by Ware. Shot clock under 9.
Well, Kentucky just smothering defensively the ball. Wow.
Ware turns him over. Wallace shares it. Here's Livingston. Freshman to freshman. And now Livingston hustles back to get on Wood. Frederick forces the steal. Rebounded by Jordan Wood. And a Kentucky foul. Turned into a pinball game there for a second.
Tom Howard now shooting 29% from the floor in this game. Kentucky's defense has been alert. They're loud with their talk. They're quick to the ball. They're bombing the ball with their hands, and they're finishing in transition. Cal says this could be one of his better defensive teams. They start blocking shots, they'll be right there.
Okay. SEC football this weekend. Will Levis and Kentucky after a tough win on the road against Mizzou, be at home against Vandy at noon. South Carolina, Florida in an underrated matchup. That'll be a big one. And a couple of streaks on the line. You want to watch SEC Saturday night, Texas A&M and Auburn, 7:30 Eastern. Losing streaks, that is. Here's a look at Kentucky's defense.
Streaks in a bad way, right? They both lost five.
I was trying to sell the game, Jimmy.
You did a good job of it. Look at Kentucky's defense tonight. Now, they have 4 block shots. The big kid, Ugo Onyenso, has 3 of them. But I brought the point up about Kentucky blocking shots because it's been a big emphasis by Coach Cal. He said he went back and looked at his championship years as opposed to the years that it has not gone so well for him here. And all the metrics are about the same with the exception of the shot blocks. Kentucky, Tom, they've averaged less than 6 shot blocks per game over the last 4 or 5 seasons. That number's got to get back up to averaging 7 or 8, and that's when you become elite defensively.
Jordan Wood continues to struggle now, 0 for 8. But as much as it is, bad pass. Wow. Ware almost made it a good one. Holy smokes. That pass was headed to Hazard, and somehow he found it.
Really good effort, though, by Ware just to rim run and be there with a chance to finish it off.
Jimmy, I want to follow up on the shot blocking for this team. Is it not based first on personnel? Oscar is not a big shot blocking player. He is a rebound vacuum, but he's not one that's going to challenge a lot. You've got Toppin who can do it, and Collins when he's on the floor. Now what you found, obviously, in Onyenso.
Well, he's challenged his guards to be shot blockers as well. You make a great observation. It is tied to your personnel, but you still have to maximize the personnel that you've had and emphasize it. And I think they've kind of gotten away from it over the last 4 or 5 years, but he has really charged his guys with nothing easy around the rim this year.
How about that? Rebound by Toppin off the missed free throw. CJ Frederick for 3. Automatic. You're used to seeing a lot of that this year.
There's not a better shooter in all of college basketball than CJ Frederick. There's just not. Now, the numbers may play out and say, well, how about him? How about him? That's fine. You take them. I'm taking Frederick.
Frederick has played in big games, like in the Big Ten with Iowa. Wood off the mark again.
Wood is arguably Howard's most talented guy, and when your best guy has struggled, you're going to get blown out in Rupp Arena. And Wood can't get anything to drop right now. And the dirty work of Jacob Toppin. We've seen him get traffic rebounds the next growth step for Jacob Toppin is becoming a more physical ball player. Not only physical with the drives, but physical on the boards, and he has been that tonight so far.
Cason Wallace trying to plead his case. Commits a foul.
His second, team second.
Only the second foul, right, on Cason?
Yeah. Well, Cason Wallace is on pace for the most assists by Kentucky freshmen in a debut game. De'Aaron Fox had a dozen against Stephen F. Austin in November of 16. Wallace is already tied for 4th all time. The great Kyle Macy and Xavier had 10 apiece in their debut. Jamal Murray had 8, and Wallace has 8. That is pretty good company right there.
Tom, he has, talking about 22 in white, kind of a do whatever it takes style about him. I mean, he's a really good jump shooter. He's a power driver. He can keep the ball moving as a passer. He's strong. He's tough. He has a tremendous voice and really good through contact for a first-year college player.
Voice like a singer? He should be doing political jingles, or voice is in
like
a take charge kind of dude?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
This is my team. I'm only 18 years old kind of voice.
He's
Turned
having a pretty good
today, right?
19 today.
Yeah.
I asked him before the game, what's the favorite birthday gift you've ever gotten? And he was at a loss for words. And he said, I think probably tonight would be it. Make your major college debut, a Rupp Arena on your birthday.
That doesn't get much better than that, right?
He did say he loves a good party. And I said, well, you got 18,000, 20,000 at your birthday party.
Onyenso's too good to not give an effort on a shot block. I mean, he got his feet locked on the floor that time and never even challenged Dixon.
Onyenso turnaround.
Okay. That's a problem if he can do that.
I was going to say, if you're at a party, that's icing on the cake,
Yeah.
huh?
He goes to the dribble handoff action, instead just jumps up and knocks one down from 15.
Cason might be cramping just a little bit. Was slow on the defensive end there. Played all but 1 minute in the first half.
If Oscar's big O is Onyenso little O, and he's 7 feet tall, how can he be little O?
Well, he could be the big U. You got a big O and a big U.
Yeah.
Alphabet soup inside.
Good discipline by him to leave the ball alone on the rim by Onyenso. I mean, his upside is about as high as you can ask for a kid that he should still be a senior in high school.
Reclassified from next year's class. What an opportunity, huh? Nice look. It went right around Onyenso. That's a first bucket for Bryce Harris. Wallace. Toppin sends it to the cheerleaders. And it will stay with Kentucky.
Nation's best cheerleaders. 24 national championships in that program. Chasing number 25 this winter. Can't go under.
Wallace found the rebound. I am impressed and a little surprised the confidence in which Onyenso is playing on the offensive end tonight.
Yeah, he's taking guarded shots now. But he's such an active kid that plays low, and he's mobile, he's flexible with his hips. All the things that NBA scouts look for from someone his size and that young.
Odom lost it on his way up. They'll give Wallace a foul, I believe. Cason Wallace is putting the work in tonight. That's his third personal foul.
Tom, you look at Cason Wallace run that point right now, and I think he's going to get heavy minutes in that point guard spot all year long for Kentucky. Antonio Reeves is the other shooting guard, and C.J. Frederick. And you got three dudes you're trying to check that can put a lot of stress on any defense.
Checking in for Kentucky, number 3, Thiero. Also number 55.
There's a light bench for the Cats tonight.
You got 20 points and probably 15, 16 rebounds sitting over there And Oscar Tshiebwe, Kentucky still has 65 points with 12:45 to go.
Reeves. Here's C.J. Frederick.
You're surprised when it doesn't go in,
yeah.
right? One of those releases.
Got it. Antonio Reeves, what a combo he'll make with Frederick at 16 for the transfer from Illinois State, who played his high school ball at Simeon Academy. And well, Cal's gone there for a good guard or two in the past, highlighted by Derrick Rose, who he had at Memphis for being the first pick in the draft.
Tom, in order to be a good shooting team, you have to be a good, fast pass team.
Okay.
And Kentucky has really passed the ball with speed on target in this game to their jump shooters.
Extra pass for Ware. Ware's above the rim, and it's a 30-point Kentucky lead. Toppin is injured, hobbling down the floor. First career double-double for Toppin. And Lance Ware getting in on the fun.
Yeah, the length of Kentucky is special. They are so good under Calipari, finding that backside dunker spot. Kentucky came in favored by 26. They're up 30.
Kentucky's lead is 30, and Jacob Toppin getting some attention from the athletic trainer. Meanwhile, C.J. Frederick will draw defense's attention after the way he's shooting the ball here early on. 18 points to lead the Cats. 2 of 5 from deep.
I mean, he just has a beautiful, repeatable stroke. I mean, he can really spin it as a shooter, and it's the same spin every time. He has a good feel for lining it up when he has time. Again, he can shoot it off the bounce. He can shot fake. He can drive it hard. He can get himself to the free throw line. I mean, he's a big, big part of Kentucky basketball this year, trying to chase a 9th national title.
Well, Kentucky dealing with injuries here on opening night. No Oscar Tshiebwe, no Xavier Wheeler, and Jacob Toppin, who's got his first career double-double with 11 points, 10 boards, out of the game for now, and you would assume there's no need for him to return, especially the way the injury bug has bit Kentucky in the Missouri Western exhibition game a couple of games ago. That's when Xavier Wheeler hurt his knee. And Jimmy, I did not see Xavier take part much in shoot-around today.
No, he did not.
It's not like he was going through at 50 or 60%. Meanwhile, here's a look at what occurred with Toppin.
Toppin with a double-double. 11 points and 10 rebounds. He steps right there on someone's foot. And looks like rolls that ankle. Then his knee gets hammered as well right there.
Here's Adu Thiero. His dad played for Cal at Memphis, and Thiero knocks the first one down.
Cal has been so dynamic as a recruiter. Thiero is only the 3rd 3-star guy that Cal's ever recruited to Kentucky. Think about that.
Like great coaches, and you see this a lot on the football side, the 3-star coming in, 5-star leaving.
Absolutely.
Right? Thiero is not going to remain a 3-star if the rankings continue.
Yeah, I love this kid. Talking about 3 and white. I mean, he's got a motor. He's tough. He's long. Defensively, he fights. He's confident in what he can do. Guarding the ball right now.
So, Jimmy, let's look forward. Kentucky's got Duquesne coming in here Friday night, and then Champions Classic and Michigan State. It's hard for me to see as an outsider Kentucky being at full strength. They're going to wave that one off with a foul. Oscar has not been very active to this point, and they obviously need him to be a different player, right? And they need Xavier Wheeler. Now, perhaps Wheeler could be motivated to get back on the floor with such a big game coming up against Michigan State.
It could be, and he could be motivated by how well Cason Wallace has played and Antonio Reeves as well. But those are big monster games coming up.
And then a big question mark next to Toppin's name after tonight. Obviously, Cal will update after the game. Here's Livingston. And Ware with a push-off.
Tom Cal told his guys today that I want to take 25 threes in this game, and they're tracking that number. And this is the type of the game to try to figure out how many threes should we be taking. Are we a 25 to 30 3-point attempt team, or are we a 12 to 15? And Cal's had both there, and he's won both. But this is a really good shooting team that I think he's going to give more freedom to than maybe some of his past teams.
18 of their 48 attempts have come from behind the arc so far tonight.
Yeah.
Oscar erases a lot of mistakes, doesn't he?
Yeah, Kentucky has been relentless with their defensive effort. They have not been perfect. They've had some breakdowns and allowed a couple of slips, and all those that come out sometimes with their hips opened up for drivers, but their relentless effort has really jumped out to me.
Hawkins draws a whistle.
Good news for Kentucky. Toppin high-stepping himself back to the scorer's table to check in.
Oh, that's great news. Chris Livingston commits his third personal foul.
Tommy, look at some of the great shooters that come through Kentucky over the years. C.J. Frederick's going to be mentioned in that group as well. Think about Deron Land, who 47% for his career here. Travis Ford from way back shot 44% for his career over a 3-year period. Devin Booker, Jamal Murray, C.J. Frederick will be right there with any of those guys when this season's over. I firmly believe it.
Oh, Toppin back. Frederick would have been the leading returning three-point shooter in the game last year, but didn't get on the floor because of the torn hamstring and the layup line in the Garden against Duke before the game.
Have you ever heard of that?
No.
I've never either. That was really uncommon.
Wallace.
Yes, he's strong. Again, he's a good athlete, but his strength really makes him special. Contact does not knock him off his path. That's unusual for a freshman guard.
Wow, Onyenso caught up to him. The reach got the block and then given right back, and Howard will have a gimme on this end.
That recovery speed plus length that Onyenso throws at you will be hard to handle in this league. He can fix a lot of problems defensively as a freshman.
Interesting, in the first half, you were talking about the National Player of the Year coming back and how North Carolina won the national championship when they got their National Player of the Year back, even though he didn't win it again. Incumbent upon the rest of the players around you to improve. A star player can only do so much.
And I think Kentucky could be tracking that same path that North Carolina did back when Tyler Hansbrough returned as returning National Player of the Year. The pieces are here for Kentucky to be special this year.
Jimmy, have you noticed every time Elijah Hawkins, the ball leaves his hands, he ends up on the floor? He's like a human mop.
We haven't had a flop call so far in this game. And finally they've listened to me over the last 2 years. No more flop warnings. You flop, it's a Class B technical foul, as well it should be. The Rules Committee is very serious about getting the flop out of the game.
Cason Wallace with the triple. Try to pump fake the shot blocker, ended up missing. Livingston, wow, with a hand, pardon me, that was Reeves with a hand in his face. He's got 19 now.
He's 6'5", and C.J. Frederick is all of 6'4". Big guards that can make guarded shots. A real luxury for Kentucky and John Calipari this year. Jacob Toppin with his back to the basket in the mid-range, becoming a mid-range monster. Cason Wallace, release, rotation, result. Cats are rolling.
Tom Hart with Jimmy Dykes, 4th-ranked Kentucky proving its mettle. And Jimmy, they're shooting the lights out. How about the footwork?
Yeah, Antonio Reeves, watch, he steps inside the three-point line right there, but great shooters just have a feel for where that line is. And Antonio Reeves steps back and gets a nice pat on the backside by National Player of the Year, Oscar Tshiebwe. Antonio Reeves is 5 out of 10 from the three-point line in this game. Kentucky 9 out of 20. And I'm not sure they're going to shoot 50% as a team all season long, but they are a legitimate three-point shooting team this year with Frederick, Reeves, and Cason Wallace.
Yeah, and 40% of their attempts coming from three. That's not going to be normal, but it should be a higher percentage than it was last year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They have better shooters.
Yep.
And again, this is without Oscar Tshiebwe, who you have to demand respect around the rim and try to shrink the floor on him. How do you shrink the floor on Kentucky this year around Tshiebwe and make him play in a crowd when he's got shooters he can spray it to on the outside?
Kellen Grady shot about 42% from three last year, knocked down 88 of them.
I tell you, Kentucky was favored by 26.
I heard that. Keep making bets like that, you're going to start eating hot dogs out of trash cans. Three ball from Settle. So
have you ever done that?
No, I know some people. As long as it's in the box and clean, trust me, I've run in bad crowds, Jimmy. What is it that has surprised you about this matchup tonight?
Well, I think Howard just got overwhelmed by the size of the game. Their jump shots didn't fall early and kind of affected their shot selection. And Kentucky's really darn good. I mean, even without the National Player of the Year and the guy that's a first-team all-conference point guard on the bench tonight, and Damian Collins, who's a freak athlete, the 8 that Cal has put on the floor tonight, they have all defended their tails off defensively so far in this game.
Was Cal right to be concerned about this matchup?
Yes, he was. Yes. Because you see the length, and this is a team that could end up in the NCAA tournament out of the MEAC. They've just missed shot after shot after shot. Kentucky's defense and recovering to threes has been a big part of it.
Howard has never beaten a top 25 team, 0-32 all time, and HBCU has only beaten a top 5 team once in college basketball history. That was first round of the 2012 NCAA tournament. Norfolk State knocked off number 3 Missouri that night.
We said at the top of the show, Coach Blakeney was very confident. He told you and I today, Severe Wheeler and Oscar Tshiebwe, he had the better team.
Their best player still struggling. Jordan Wood is 0 for 10. Stolen by Toppin right in front of Wood.
Boy, Toppin has been really alert as a defender in this game.
From a coaching standpoint, let me ask you about Jordan Wood for a second. What can a coach, how can help a player, and what can a player learn about a night like this, first time in this environment?
Well, you hope for Jordan Wood's sake that it's not a shot to his confidence, because that's where he has really struggled the first 2 years in that Howard uniform. And he cannot let this game knock him back for the rest of the year. Talking about this kid tucked away in the far corner, 24 in blue. Let it fly. There we go.
That's good to see.
Yeah, just you got to keep shooting. He shakes his head, but that's the only way, the only answer for him going forward is to trust the work that he put in. It didn't go his way tonight in Rupp Arena, but he's too good of a talent to get knocked back for the next 30 games.
They have plenty of opportunities. Yeah. Howard's got to run at like 5 games in 8 days or something.
They're like you.
Yeah, stay busy. You know what? Let's keep the mayhem going. Time to take a look now at our All-State mayhem moment. And this is the pinball game.
Yeah, well, it sets the tone for Kentucky how they need to play this year. Cal talked about we have to outfight them tonight, and this is a great example on film of how you fight as a team. Everybody in a white jersey involved in the scrum, not afraid of the contact, and they finish it off with a nice shot fake and a release by C.J. Frederick. That's just a winning play. That's a winning team effort that Cal will be very pleased with.
Duquesne Friday night, right here at Rupp on the SEC Network, and then Michigan State the next week. Where do they need to be to get a win against Michigan State?
They got to be at full strength, yeah, I would think. Yeah, Tom Izzo's club has struggled a little bit for their standard in the Big Ten. I believe they're 10-10 in the Big Ten over the last 2 years, right at 500. Not the typical Michigan State teams that we've seen. But you got Gonzaga not too far after that, and you're going to have all your horses. Oscar Tshiebwe versus Drew Timme, and what could be a National Player of the Year head-to-head race early will be special.
November 20th on the road in Spokane is a corner three from Livingston. Are you doing that game? Are you going to Spokane?
I am. Always
that
Spokane.
Is going to be a monster matchup.
And then straight from Spokane to Atlantis. There's not a direct flight, by the way.
No, but beautiful waterfalls.
Yeah, there is.
Have that going for you.
Once you're there, it's all worth it.
I was wide open.
Tom, Kentucky has now 9 turnovers in the game. But man, they have really moved that ball and gotten great look after great look after great look. And how fast they pass the ball. Lazy passes won't end up with a good shooting team overall. Great shooting teams are terrific at fast passing the ball, and Kentucky has been that tonight.
Frederick trying to fight through the screen.
Careful.
You saying that to me or to Chris Livingston?
To the world. I got ran smooth over one night at an Alabama-Arkansas game. Headset came off. I ended up on my backside. Sounded like a bomb went off. And I've learned from that point on, anything coming my direction, I might run.
Did you get the call at least? Did you draw the charge?
Nothing. No, nothing.
Probably Tony Green working that game.
Next Alabama game they presented me with a catcher's mask and a chest protector and shin guards.
Here's Wallace. Wow, two-hand flush with the easy drive. Happy birthday, Cason Wallace.
Middle third's been good at Kentucky tonight. And you're not going to mess around too much with that side defensive pressure of Howard, and they have punished this Howard team from the MEAC in the middle part of the floor. Absolutely punished. With Toppin taking that matchup personal. Defensively, he took it personal, as you should.
Livingston has it sent back. Talon Lewis is on the floor for Howard, transfer from USC. You got another transfer, Marcus Dockery's coming in from Maryland. They're trying to get him eligible, didn't make the trip, but he could be a difference maker for this team in terms of offensive firepower. We've got a 90-56 game here where they've won 8 national championships. Let's get you a place where they're raising a banner to Leah Boston National Player of the Year. And Raven Johnson back after missing her freshman season with a torn ACL. She'll be running the point for Don Staley's squad. Cason Wallace has been running the point tonight. Here's a look at Boston's accolades. Second title in school history last year, and they didn't waste much time on their way to 35 wins, setting a school record.
No, they did not. Don Staley is building an absolute powerhouse there at South Carolina. I don't see it changing anytime soon with the recruiting that she's got going on as well. I mentioned Leah Boston is the most dominant player in the women's game, and she dominates on both ends of the floor, which is unique. Kentucky has dominated on both ends of the floor in this one as well. Their overall balance, like, no one has had a bad game for Kentucky. They've all done something really well. That balance has been special on opening night.
Frederick finds a bit lane and is able to finish and took a shot to the hip.
Man, that's a foul. He got smoked at the rim. A hard hit on that hip, and he's battled injuries at Iowa and last year with a hamstring. Right there. That's a defender jumping towards the shooter that doesn't get called.
Well, I'm sure CJ's just happy to be on the floor, right? I mean, great opportunity for him. I remember last year coming in for the first exhibition game. He had played here in high school in the high school tournament, but walking into Rupp for the first time last year, he got lost. And I found him in the back concourse, and I said, where are you trying to get? He said, I got to get on the floor.
Where's the floor?
I'm supposed to be out there warming up. Well, we both came in the back way, and he finally found his way to the floor. Shame that we didn't get to see him play in a Cats uniform last year. But he's making the most of his debut. Bam! Oh, my hammer, Toppin.
you see why he could go from a role guy one year to a first-team All-SEC first-round pick, flirting with a lottery pick the next year. He's got some special stuff with that 42-inch vertical, 43, 44. How high do I have to jump is really what he is.
He went 44 at the pro day, but when he was working out in the NBA combine, working out for NBA teams, he only went 42 and a half. And I said, well, what are we missing here? He said, well, I wasn't properly stretched. I think I could get 44 though.
That extra half inch if you stretch. Very impressive opening night, Tom, for Kentucky. And Howard felt really good about their game plan and the talent that they had, and catching Kentucky with 3 guys down, but not tonight.
Big Reeves' son, Freedom at the free throw line. You missed it earlier. Pops made the trip in from London. We just finished filming Mission Impossible 8. You think 8 is about the right number for the Mission Impossible movies?
No, that's too good. You got to get to 10 or 11, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Next few years.
I mean, if you're making money. Here's Ware. By the time that thing airs, there will be as many Mission Impossibles as Kentucky has national titles.
Yeah, there will be. He was also the voiceover work in Lilo and Stitch.
And he's got a new Garfield movie coming out, too, where he did the voiceover work. I don't think we can afford him. If he did his Arby's voice tonight, what would he have to say about Kentucky's performance?
They've got the meat. Kentucky does, man. They've loaded up. He's the voice of that Arby's, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We've got the meats.
That's right. Kentucky able to empty the bench now. What a job by Cason Wallace. 7 of 11 shooting. 8 assists, just 2 turnovers.
I woke up this morning early to my phone ring, and it was Cal. Before I could even say hello, he starts asking me, how in the world can I win a game when I'm down National Player of the Year and a point guard and Damian Collins? I got 8 scholarship guys. Well, he's got 8 really good scholarship guys. That's what he's got. They played hard. They played together. The things that he emphasized in the scouting report at the Craft Center this afternoon, they brought to the floor. A really good start for John Calipari and his Cats.
Walker Horn is on the floor. His dad's Northern Kentucky team has a big one tonight. Here's Reeves.
There we go. That deserved to go in because Pops flew all the way from another country to be here.
That's right. That's a long flight. Cats will be over in London for their Michigan game in December. Flight was worth it. Here's Brennan Canada for 3.
If you pass the ball right now, you're wrong. Trying to get a ball screen for Thiero to work off of.
Here's Horn. Pump fake. He passed it.
Again, if you pass it, you're wrong. He had a chance to snap one off, did he not?
He sure did.
He'll learn. He needs to talk to me about how to perform in the last 90 seconds of a game.
Pack your bag and
that's the only time I ever got to play. So I'm an expert on the last 90 seconds of a game.
I thought you meant as a broadcaster.
No.
You should go interview Cal. You're not done working. In and out, and a follow tip is good. What a dominating performance by Kentucky tonight. They put 95 on the board. Cats shot 48% from 3. They got Duquesne on Friday night, and now trying to catch up with Kansas. All-time wins in NCAA basketball. A lot to look forward to if you're a Kentucky fan. A lot of positive film for Cal.
Yeah, absolutely. The National Player of the Year didn't play tonight. It's a 20 and 15 guy. Kentucky is primed for a deep, deep run in March.
We'll get to the studio, Dari and the Pats, and shortly you will hear from John Calipari about this performance tonight. Kentucky dominates on opening night. Let's get to the studio. Here's Dari.